Good evening and good morning. Let's begin this session with an in-gathering. I hope we were able to stabilize a little bit with the help of the chant that was playing. So invoking Mother's grace and presence and aspiring that we can see a bit more so that we can become what I understand, what I know now. So last week we were reading about the psychic being from the sunlit path. And before we go into our book, looking from within the compilation, so let's continue reading what we read. We had just read the first passage of the passage, first para of the passage, psychic being. Because I think this is something that if we even have to spend a few sessions on, and if we can increase our acquaintance or maybe become friends with a psychic being, or if we know a bit more, it would be worth all the time and effort. So we had read the first paragraph last time. We can read it again and then we'll go to the next one. So if anybody is willing, they can please read the psychic being from the sunlit path.
The psychic being is a center of light and truth and knowledge and beauty and harmony, which the divine self in each of you creates by his presence, little by little. It is influenced, formed, and moved by the divine consciousness of which it is a part and parcel. It is in each of you the deep inner being which you have to find in order that you may come in contact with the divine in you. It is an intermediary between the divine consciousness and your external consciousness. It is a builder of the inner life. It is that which manifests in the outer nature the order and rule of the divine will. If you become aware in your outer consciousness of the psychic being within you and unite with it, you can find the pure eternal consciousness and live in it. Instead of being moved by the ignorance as the human being constantly is, you grow aware of the presence of an eternal light and knowledge within you, and to it you surrender and are integrally consecrated to it and moved by it in all things.
Yeah, thank you. Although we had gone over it, I think maybe we can go over it again because I don't know, it could be confusing. Okay. So it's like it said, the psychic being is the center of light, truth, knowledge, and beauty and harmony within which the divine self in each of you creates by his presence little by little. It is influenced, formed, and moved by the divine consciousness of which it is a part and parcel. So that inner voice would be a part of it, that inner guidance we get. When we are doing something not okay and something in us feels that no, this is not the truth. Beauty, the harmony, the one in me that appreciates it and that wants it. Light, truth, beauty, harmony. I think that's what is referred to here. Is saying it's part and parcel of the psychic being. It is in each of you, it is in each of us the deep inner being which we have to find in order that we may come in contact with the divine. We have all we have Vedantic roots. So we know the God lives in us. We know there is a light of God in us. So it is in each of us the deep inner being which we must find in order to come in contact with the divine in you. We keep looking for it outside, and yet we do know, although we haven't realized it, that it actually is inside. It is the intermediary between the divine consciousness and our external consciousness. The divine, our external consciousness, and the connection between the two. It is the builder of the inner life. It is that which manifests in the outer nature, the order and rule of the divine will. So if you become aware in your outer consciousness of the psychic being within you and unite with it, you can find the pure eternal consciousness and live in it. That is why, especially when we read the mother, she keeps saying, find your psychic being and unite with it. Find that inner channel that you have that connects you to God and unite with it. And yeah, that is also one of the, I don't even know how to put it, like that is, it seems like the purpose of getting the human life so that we can unite and then do what needs to be done. And I think this is very interesting. Instead of being moved by the ignorance as the human being constantly is, I would like reflections on this line, just this one right now, or anything else that you want to talk about. What is being referred to here? Do we in our own capacity?
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yeah.
I find in my case, it's my ego and my habit of comparison.
Yes, thank you. So most of the things that move us, the reasons for our reactions, our impulses, our anger, our choices, which center are they coming from? So mostly when we get to the root of things, the bottom of things, we see that we are holding on to something that doesn't really have any value. So instead of being moved by the ignorance that I think it to be important, I consider it to be important, my titles, my degrees, my positions, my settling in life. There is this beautiful, I don't know who wrote it, but I've heard it from my father. He says that, तैयारी 100 बरस की, एक पल की खबर नहीं. That's how I live, that as if I have to live 100 years and I keep working towards it, and I don't even know whether I'll be here the next moment. And last time I remember we were talking about the importance of breath, and Vasu was talking about her asthma. I don't know in this session or the other one. Again and again, a mistake a master is pointing us towards. Think about के साथ क्या लेके जाओगे. And what I am accumulating, what I am stressing, what I am worrying about, my anxieties day to day, if we can reflect a little bit on it in sincerity, we'll see the reason is mostly just the I, the I, the I. मुझे बोला, मेरे को चाहिए, मेरे को अच्छा लगता है. Jagan was today sharing with me that one of his friends, right after college, I think he straight away got a Mustang. And then he got another job to pay for those extra payments because regular job couldn't, he couldn't make the payments because, he said it's a matter of status. So he might sleep less, work more, not be present for most things, but at least he's driving a hot car. So that's mostly how we live. So if we, and later on we can laugh at it, but when we are doing it, it seems a very intelligent thing to do. That see how smart I am. And when I'm sitting in that car, how people are looking at me, how, whatever. I think I don't need to go there, but yeah, so this is really helpful if we try to get to the bottom of most of our things. Yeah, anything, please feel free to unmute anytime. Yes. Instead of being moved by the ignorance as the human being constantly is, you grow aware of the presence of an eternal light and knowledge within you, and to it you surrender and are integrally consecrated to it and moved by it in all things. So I think we have already covered this. We'll move forward. So if anybody is willing, they can read the full passage now and we can just repeat.
I would love to read. Starting from for your psychic being.
Yeah,
For your
I
psychic.
sorry. I thought maybe you're
No, no,
waiting for me. Yeah.
no, no. I was just trying to make sure that I read it correctly. For your psychic being, for your psychic being is that part of you which is already given to the divine. It is its influence gradually spreading from within towards the most outward and material boundaries of my consciousness that will bring about the transformation of my entire nature. There can be no obscurity here. It is the luminous part in me. Most people are unconscious of this psychic part within them. The effort of yoga is to make me conscious of it, so that the process of my transformation, instead of a slow labor extending on through centuries, can be pressed into one life or even a few years. The psychic being is that which persists after death, because it is my eternal self. It is this that carries the consciousness forward from life to life. The psychic being is the psychic being is the real individuality of the true and divine individual within me. For my individuality means my special mode of expression, and my psychic being is a special aspect of the one divine consciousness that has taken shape in me. I'll just read this one more time, please. Uh, the last paragraph. Sorry. The psychic being is the real individuality of the true and divine individual within me. For my individuality means my special mode of expression, and my psychic being is a special aspect of the one divine consciousness that has taken shape in me. Okay. And also, my apologies, I had to read as me because I feel that it it is the impact is more profound compared to when I am reading it as you somehow. So
Yeah, thank you. So I think based on the discussion that we have already done, I am hoping that this is like much more clearer now. So that part of the divine, that part of me which is already given to the divine, influence gradually spreading from within towards the most outward. So usually the outward determines how I am, how my inner state is, my moods, how others reacted around me, the weather. I mean, those are the things that influence my state of mind, my state of being, my happiness, my irritation, my frustrations. So when the inner gradually starts spreading from inside to outwards, and material boundaries of my consciousness, that will bring about the transformation of my entire nature. So right now the outside is ruling me. Ritu, I didn't see you unmute, please.
Yeah, so here basically it is the Atma, psychic being.
Ritu, I would also say that, and yet I know there are texts and we can look them up. It says that the term Atma that is used in the Vedantic thing especially, and the psychic being, they say there is a distinction. We can read about it together.
Because it says the psychic being is that which moves on even after our death. It doesn't die with the body. So same thing is said about the Atma, that it doesn't die with the body. That's the consciousness which moves further.
Yeah, and yet, there is something that is said that the psychic being is mostly in the humans. Either it says mostly or only. The gods don't have psychic beings, maybe the lower animals don't have psychic beings, but they all do have a soul, right? So this is more specific to humans right now, at least. So I mean, what you're saying is right, and that is mostly the assumption. But if you really want to get to the roots of it, there is more text on it that how it differentiates from that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we were just taking this part. So when from the inside we start getting influenced, and rather than the outside affecting me, the inside starts affecting the outside. Like we were discussing the example of Sri Aurobindo, right? That how the cyclone couldn't enter because there was so much peace around him. So I think that kind of a thing, and that is an extreme example, but You know how there's some people who are just sitting and there's peace around them. Like, I mean, we have seen those people, especially, I don't know, like, yeah, I'll start. So there can be no obscurity here. It is the luminous part in you. Most people are unconscious of the psychic part within them. The effect of yoga is the effort of yoga, sorry, is to make you conscious of it. That know that you have it, know that you can get in touch with it, you can make it your guiding part, your ruler of your life can be your psychic being rather than the outside achievements and the things that I am running after and all the checks that I am creating. Okay, done, done, done. So that the process of your transformation, instead of a slow labor extended on through centuries, can be pressed into one life or even a few years. It is said that even by just being born as a human, as more and more psychic beings are born as humans in human form. I don't know, I'm goofing up the wordings of my sentences today, I apologize. Just by being born, you're helping evolution. This is what it's saying, that the slow thing is already there, the nature is already evolving. But if I become conscious of it, if I unite with it, I really can transform at a much faster pace and I can aid in that transformation. And it is said, that earlier on achieving this enlightenment or the knowledge was so tough. People had to prove themselves. They would stay, with the guru for so many years, do so much work, so much thing, and then the guru would give them one thing or the other, and they'll do, they'll meditate on it, reflect on it. But now, somehow they say the knowledge is so abundant, even, with this after Corona, how everything got online and the world has become even a smaller, more connected place with so much advent of everything, including spirituality. So the psychic being is that which persists after death because it is your eternal self. It is this that carries the consciousness forward from life to life. The psychic being is the real individuality of the true and divine individual within you. For your individuality means your special mode of expression. So that psychic being in me is my special aspect. That's how the divine has presented itself through me, wanting to experience something different through this unique combination that I am in this life. So if we read the next passage title, then we also know that it is that temple of the divine within me. In the depth of your consciousness as a psychic being, the temple of the divine within you. This is the center around which should come about the unification of all these divergent parts. How the center is at idol and how everything is centered around it. So in my center should be the psychic being. It is the psychic being, I may not know it. All those contradictory movements of my being are around that center. Once you have got the consciousness of the psychic being and its aspiration, these doubts, difficulties can be destroyed. Since it was talking about the contradictory movement, it takes more or less time, but you will surely succeed in the end. Once you have turned to the divine saying, I want to be yours, and the divine has said, yes, the whole world cannot keep you from it. So I have said to the divine, I want to be yours, and the divine has said, yes, the whole world cannot keep you from it. When the central being has made its surrender, the chief difficulty has disappeared. The outer being is like a crust. In ordinary people, the crust is so hard and thick that they are not conscious of the divine within them. If once, even for a moment only, the inner being has said, I am here and I am yours, then it is as though a bridge has been built, and little by little, the crust becomes thinner and thinner until the two parts are wholly joined and the inner and the outer become. So there's a lot more here about the psychic being, but do let me know if we should read more. I just wanted to give an idea, but we can go in as much depth as possible. And Ritu, I look up that part about the differential between the soul and the psychic being. But should we read bit more on this or go back to looking from within?
So maybe you can just post it on the group and we can read it about the differential.
Yeah, and I mean, it'll be lovely to even discuss it. So let me see how it is, and definitely. Yeah. So this one, I just see, this reversal of consciousness, I think is very interesting. Just for pleasure, if you want to go through it before we return to looking for when, if anybody is ready, we can read it. And yeah.
A reversal of consciousness. There is a moment because it is a question which becomes more and more intense and more acute when you have even the feeling precisely that things are strange, that is, they are not real. A moment comes when this sensation that you have of yourself, of being yourself, becomes strange, a kind of sense of unreality. And the question continues coming up. But then, what is myself? Well, there is a moment when it comes up with so much concentration and such intensity that with this intensity of concentration, suddenly there occurs a reversal. And then, instead of being on this side, you are on the other side. And when you are on that side, everything is very simple. You understand, you know, you are, you live, and then you see clearly the unreality of the rest, and that is enough. You see, one may have to wait for days, months, years, centuries, lives before this moment comes. But if one intensifies his aspiration, there is a moment when the pressure is so great and the intensity of the question so strong that something turns over in the consciousness, and then that is absolutely what one feels. Instead of being here, one is there. Instead of seeing from outside and seeking to see within, one is inside. And the minute one is within, absolutely everything changes completely. And all that seemed to be to him true, natural, normal, real, tangible, all that immediately, yes, it seems to have very grotesque, very queer, very unreal, quite absurd, but one has touched something which is supremely true and eternally beautiful. And this one never loses again. So this basically says when one identifies with the psychic being.
Yeah, so this is before the mother has introduced right now in this, booklet, in this compilation about the word psychic being. It's just saying that it would be saying that, but here the word has not been used. But yes, that now instead of seeing with your eyes outwards, there's something inside which is lit, and suddenly you see things very differently.
So actually, psychic being would be full of love. There would be no duality in that because it is a part of the divine. So I think that is why it says that then the way we look at things completely changes.
Yeah, very much possible. That if it's representing the divine consciousness, why would there be duality in it? Yeah. And that is why it's said, right, that all the confusions, the contradictory movements in the being, they just lose. They are not there anymore. They lose their grip.
Is this experience the same as so when I meditate or when I'm being mindful, um, while I'm supposed to be more mindful about my breathing and I need to feel that more, what I actually experience is a merging. I experience like blurring of the boundaries of my physical boundaries, and I feel like I'm merging with my surrounding environment. Is this something similar to what is being explained? Or like in my day-to-day life, I'm so conscious, right, about my body, about my material self. But when I meditate or when I'm being mindful, it just all the boundaries are blurred for me.
And as soon as I open my eyes, they are back. So I think when one
Yes.
has united, right, then it's not a temporary touching, it's not a glimpse. It has happened. That is now your truth. That is now your center of operation. That is the light through which you see and not just your external eyes. So we keep getting glimpses of our expansiveness, of our being eternal. And yet, those are very, very, very limited glimpses. So, yeah, I mean, they would be saying about the same thing, and yet the unity, the unification has not happened.
Okay. And how will this be more permanent or should it not be? What is it?
Yeah, so that's what we have been reading, that for this to be permanent, see, right now the outside governs me. But as with these practices that you're saying and other things, these sessions, everything, the questioning aspects grow stronger. We want to know more, we want to let go of the baggages. So we are preparing the being for towards that unification. When life as is stops making much sense, or the things that gave you value, or they looked like, okay, I want, and after you have achieved so much, I want, still that emptiness that is there, then one says that, okay, well, maybe I'm looking at the wrong place. Or either one can say, I've been looking at the wrong thing and start going towards more things. But when we are done and we start looking at the right places and turn within, we'll be deepening that search. Like mother, even here right now, how she's shared, right? So this is again how she's saying that reversal happens. When you're burning in that fire of aspiration, that fire of I want to know, when it's not making sense, then something changes and slowly, slowly, slowly give way. And here it was quite, I would say, right away. And the questions, how it says, and the question continues coming up. But then, what is myself? How often have I wondered this? Where am I? Why am I here? What is myself? The answer even is not important, but does the question bother me? If I have an unexplained, I don't know, uh, wound on my body, or if there's an unexplained pain, or if I have a weird message from somebody I don't know, how much does that bother me? Somebody says something which is not true. How much does that bother me? But does this question on a regular basis bother me? Bother me that what is myself? So when I want to know it so badly, then something happens, right? Well, there is a moment when it comes up with so much concentration and intensity that with this intensity of concentration, suddenly there occurs a reversal. And then instead of being on this side, looking outside, then you're on the other side. Things are simple, you understand, you know, you are, you live, and you see. So the whole thing needs to change. It cannot be a superficial practice, because most of the things that we do are very just outside, right? Till now, it are divided, they are momentary. And somehow my everyday existence is more powerful, is my real world. And this is something that, oh, I'm just doing on the sides. I usually don't discuss it. I usually keep it under covers. I know people won't understand, or I'm embarrassed. When it becomes the most important or the only question, I would say, in my life, probably after that, the unification would happen. But whatever we are doing and whatever we can do on our own, I mean, that was the most important, are steps towards this permanent unification. That right now, the world, my impulses, my pattern, the nature is ruling me. And then the divine consciousness would rule me. Yeah, anything else?
Yes. Um, this morning session, I was talking to Monica ma'am about parallel consciousness, you know, and then I'm so sorry, just give me one second. And then also this song, this chant, Om Mani Padma Padmeham. I've listened to that a few times, and it's like someone is playing this song inside of me at a very low volume that I could hear, and it stayed with me for I don't know 3 4 hours straight after listening for the first time. And I thought, is this is this a sort of parallel consciousness? Is this how chanting the name of Ma will also remain within me? The reason I was requesting for this, not requesting for this, but to so curious on how this happens is, um, like Monica ma'am was saying this morning that घर पे मेरे घर के अंदर ये जो comparisons ego के जो चीजें हैं ये रहते हैं. It depends on me if I want to ignore them or I want to give them fuel, burn even more. And the answers are so straightforward that, like you said, man, that kindness, offering to mother, eliminating the fear of judgment, more importantly, no drama. All these help me so much in knowing that, this is what I need to win over. This is what I need to be. And still, there are certain moments because of the lack of parallel consciousness in a day of 24 hours. There is a moment in my life that I sit down and these beings, they give me better offers. These ego beings, this comparison, the being of comparison, they come to me and they say that, yesterday, I gave you one coin, you ignored that one coin. Today I'll give you two coins. You know, Look at him, he's got four coins. You could also have four coins. Like, you could also have more and more. Trying to entice me, trying to, impress me with these things. And also, it is, although I'm being kind to myself and I'm trying to not, have any drama, but I still am, sometimes going with it. जो ये मेरे घर पे रहता है, ये मेरे से ऐसे बातें करता है, मैं इग्नोर करता हूँ, जो भी बोल ले आई इग्नोर यू, लेकिन ये कभी कभी इतना इम्प्रेस कर देता है मुझे कि मुझे लगता है कि ना, मतलब उस मोमेंट के लिए मुझे लगता है कि मैं कर क्या रहा हूँ, मैं क्यों बोल रहा हूँ मुझे मदर चाहिए, मैं क्यों बोल रहा हूँ मुझे स्लेव बनना है, मैं इसकी बातें तो इतनी अच्छी, इतनी, मतलब इतनी स्वीट है, तो मैं इसकी बातें क्यों ना सुनूं। और इन दैट वन मोमेंट आई, मतलब इतना कुछ सीख रहा हूँ, एंड इट्स लाइक इन अ स्नैप आई फॉरगेट एवरीथिंग। एंड although I am being kind to myself, I am repeating this word in my head to have no drama, because I do a lot of no drama, no drama. It is sometimes it's just so demotivating. It's just मतलब होगा, साइकिक से कनेक्शन कब होगा, होगा तो कब होगा, मतलब ऐसे ऐसे नहीं, मतलब दिस माइंडसेट वोंट हेल्प, बट व्हेन दिस person in me is giving so many offers and I'm rejecting so many offers. It's just that it's like a disease, not that I'm just naming it as a disease, but फ्रॉम चाइल्डहुड, कुछ कर रहा हूँ तो या इतना अच्छा किया है, मतलब तो यू कैन बिकम अ कंप्यूटर इंजीनियर, यू कैन बिकम अ मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर, यू कैन मेक मोर मनी, यू कैन बाय अ बेटर हाउस, दोस्तों के साथ, जैसे मेरे आपने बताया था वो मस्टंग वाला दोस्त, आई कुड बाय इनटू इट एंड आई मे बी आई वुड डू 3 जॉब्स जस्ट टू हैव दैट मस्टंग इन माय लाइफ। इतने सारे इन्फ्लुएंसेस है, और इन सभी इन सभी को मैं इग्नोर करूं और अपने आप पे काइंडनेस दिखाऊं, और साइकिक के लिए ढूंढूं, और लेकिन फिर भी इतना भी करूं, लेकिन ऐसे मोमेंट्स आते हैं कि मैं पूछ रहा हूँ अपने आप से, क्यों चल रहा हूँ, इस किसके लिए चल रहा हूँ, क्यों चल रहा हूँ, ट्रांजैक्शन ही देख रहा हूँ। तो बस पैरेलल कॉन्शियसनेस के, दैट इज वन, दैट इज अ वेरी गुड tool, astra in my life. If I'm able to have it, that will be a brahmastra for all these things in my life. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. One thing that we are so used to seeing the lack in our lives since childhood, that here also we don't see how much we have come, forward, how much we have achieved. Like you said, that so many times it's able to influence you. But the fact that now he's trying to influence you. Now you know that okay, 50% of the time you're able to reject it. And yet when it talks so sweetly, you want to listen. But then you have that doubt, right? That okay, something is not right. And even if you're falling, it could be very much possible that a part of you knows that you're still falling and you can't control yourself. But maybe 6 months, if we rewind, or 8 months we rewind, did you even realize that you were being, captured by that? So this is also ungratefulness, right? Towards the divine that is acting in me, that I always just see. I mean, there has to be a balance, that I need to know that things take time, but I have to still keep at it, keep at it. But especially how the mother says that if you're being unhappy, know that you're being insincere, right? So we have to know that, okay, if we are actually sincere and we are doing the best we can at that moment, whatever my best can be, these going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth is the way in which the being is prepared. If it's again captivating you and you listen to it, you again do what he's saying, and you'll again, a part of you would will say, I don't want to listen. You'll come back. Maybe you won't listen to it for another 2 weeks, for example, or 2 hours. Then you listen to it, you'll again go, you will not like it. So after you would not like, you have liked something for 40 years, let's say 20 years in your case. And now, it's very hard to just give it up if you've liked something for 20 years, right? So for it to strengthen in you that I don't like it anymore, you might still need to go through it 100 more times, right? If you have gone through it 20,000 times to get to the other side, that but अब तो मुझे चाहिए नहीं, मैंने इतनी बार इसकी बात सुन ली, कॉइन्स देखने में तो बहुत अट्रैक्टिव हैं, बट मैं इन कॉइन्स का करूं क्या, right? So whatever it's offering me, what good is it when I keep going back to it, keep going back to it because the presentation is very attractive, like you said. And that is the whole concept of Maya, that it shows you what doesn't exist, what is not there, and it is one of the most attractive tools that keeps you pulled down. That is the process. This is how it is. And this is why this journey is so intelligent, so amazing and challenging, because the reversal had to happen, and now you have to find your way back home, right? If it wasn't so hard, फिर तो कोई मजा ही नहीं था. It is a hard exam. It is a hard journey. Again and again and again and again we slip. So we must look at where I was and where I am, and at the same time where I need to be. So that when I keep looking behind, I keep getting motivated. And I know that there is an energy that is working. The universe is conspiring to take me where I must be. And I know that I am not there yet. And I know that I am walking, walking, walking. So your walking could be somebody else's running, right? So let's not forget that too.
Thank you, man. Only only thing that rescues from these thoughts, absolutely, like yeah, looking at how much there is to do versus looking at how much has been done. There is a lot of difference. Um, because when I look at where I have to reach, it looks like a mountain. It looks like a very tall mountain. But like you said, yeah, looking back, then yes, there is a difference, I would say. Uh, there is a difference, and you know,
Just hold here for a second. If you remember where you were and where you are at, just remember where you were. Did this point not look like a mountain then?
yes, it
Yeah. So my
it
perception is very relative, right? What I have achieved, a part of me always says, "क्या ये तो कोई भी कर सकता है, इसका क्या है ना?" So let me look at that too. That I don't know. I don't have the eyes to judge. I don't even know where I have to reach. And I don't know how that shift happens. In a second, mother says there's a reversal, right? So what appears to be the mountain, I don't know. I don't know how I will reach there, but I do know I have a lot of work right now here. So rather than focusing on where I have been and where I need to be, which I need to time, but mostly if I can just focus on what I can do moment to moment, what is ruling me, why is it ruling me, that would help me more rather than, getting into these comparisons and feeling bad. And please continue.
no, 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 you're absolutely right. It's just that The only rescuing factor for me is, offering to the mother. And the way I offer at this point of time is I need a picture of the mother. I have a photo of my mother in the drawer, one on my car's dashboard. And I just literally I talk to the mother. I say that this is what my feeling is, and I don't want to, right now my mind tells me that why am I even following your path? So give me an answer. But the thing is, I'm dependent on these photos. I keep reaching into my drawer every once in a while, or in my car also. I'm driving, and in the next second I'm just talking to. But to have that mother as a parallel consciousness in me, how wonderful that would that be? That question आया, I have it in within me कि माँ माँ बोल रहा है एक तरफ से, तो क्वेश्चन आएगा भी नहीं. Yeah.
You know how wonderful would that state be, like you were saying, and how wonderful is this stage that you want to reach out again and again, right? Both wonderful, and there's time for everything. And maybe it's time that you don't need to keep the picture in the drawer, you can keep it right on your desk. So that is also an option, that you don't need to keep it inside, it's right there.
The stand is broken. I will fix it and I'll keep it on my desk.
They have problems.
Thank you.
Oh. Yeah, anything else? Anybody? Any? Yeah, so I found a little bit of what I was looking for before for the soul and the psychic. I think this, although I read it differently, but this would give us, I think, a better clarity. So the title is Different Categories in Different Systems. Okay, it's a very small one. Would you like to read it, Ritu?
Yeah. The soul and the psychic being are practically the same, except that even in things which have not developed a psychic, there is still a spark of the divine which can be called the soul. The soul and the psychic being are practically the same, except that even in things which have not developed a psychic being, there is still a spark of the divine which can be called the soul. The psychic being is called in Sanskrit the Purusha, in the heart or the Chaitanya, Chaitya Purush. The psychic being is the soul developing in the evolution. The distinction between Purush and Prakriti is according to the Sankhya system. The Purush is a silent witness consciousness which observes the actions of Prakriti. Prakriti is the force of nature which one feels as doing all the actions when one gets rid of the sense of the ego as doer. Then there is a realization of these two entities. This is quite different from the psychic being. It is felt in the mind, vital, physical, most easily in the mind, where the mental being, that is Purush, is seated and controls the others. Manu Maya Purush Pran Saranita.
I think it's taking us somewhere else. So this was, I think, the main thing, and there will be more down if we go down. But did this make sense to you?
In a way, the psychic being is the soul process, I mean, in development, work in progress.
Soul, everything, even a stone would have a soul,
Yeah.
right? The spark of the divine, but the evolved part, which is capable of now progressing, which is capable of now discerning, which is capable of now choosing what is right or wrong and working towards its hit. जैसे अब जो animals हैं, they would mostly go towards nature, right? The nature is controlling them. They will not be able to not do something which is coming very naturally to them. But I, as a human being, can control, right? Can say, no, this is not working for me. So, psychic being is not that some everybody would have, but even a stone would have a soul. I thought here it was more when we looked.
So here when it says Purush, it's Chaitanya,
Chaitya
the
Purusha.
consciousness.
Yeah, Chaitya. Should I bring it back? Did you have a question on that?
Yeah, so that's the same, right? Chaitya Purush
Chaitya Purush and
Chaitanya
psychic being, yeah.
and Chaitanya, the consciousness, the
Consciousness, yeah.
awareness.
Yeah. See, here also it has something. The Atman, the soul, and the psychic being. You can read it if you want to.
Okay, so here it says there are three different things: the Atma, the soul, and the psychic being. The Atma is one in all. It's not born, does not evolve or change. The soul is something that comes from the divine into the evolution, and as the psychic being, it evolves and assumes different personalities from life to life. The Purusha in itself is divine, but exteriorized in the ignorance of nature. It is as the individual being perfect, imperfect with her imperfection. The Purusha in itself
I think it's
is
going
divine.
very extreme. We don't need to go here yet. It's very far. No, it's a bit complicated and it will just
Just want to say
confuse us
this,
more.
and does the soul or psychic essence, which is the Purusha, entering into the evolution and supporting it, carries in itself all the divine potentialities, but the individual psychic being, which it puts forth as its representative, assumes all the imperfection of nature and evolves in it till it has recovered its full psychic essence and united itself with the self above, of which the soul is the individual projection in the evolution. Okay, so primarily it says that the psychic being is like work in progress towards the soul.
Yeah, psychic being is that entity in me which helps me progress towards my maximum potential, the
I
thing
think
that I am.
maybe it's what we call the sanskar,
No, I don't think so.
because the sanskar also we we can build them, we can channelize them, and then they don't die with the body, they move
That
on,
would be, yeah, I don't know
and
the answer to that. Yeah.
it's a software.
Yeah, nice way of putting it. Yeah.
So instead of looking at the hardware, we look at things from the software, from within, from the psychic being.
Hmm. Yeah, and I don't know whether we are further confused or this has given some clarity, but I think
No, I
we'll
think it
try
is
to.
given a lot of clarity. I mean, it is, yeah, at least at present, it seems to be clear.
So an hour is over, but this is what we started with when we started exploring the psychic being, the psychic consciousness. So if we want to just read that once again to wrap up the session, and so next time we take the seeking to know. I'm assuming this is where we were. That's what I remember. So if anybody wants to read this paragraph, the paragraph, we can just take it up if we can understand it better.
I'll read it. When one is perplexed, when one has to make a choice, when one doesn't know what the right thing to do is, you see, one has to choose among two or three or four possible decisions and doesn't know which is the right one, then one must put himself as far as possible in contact with his psychic being and the divine presence in him. Present the problem to this psychic consciousness and ask for the true light, the true decision, the one most in accordance with the divine will, and try to listen and receive the inspiration. In each case, you see, it is the right attitude. I'll just read this one more time. When one is perplexed, when one has to make a choice, when one doesn't know what the right thing to do is, you see, one has to choose among two or three or four possible decisions and doesn't know which is the right one, then one must put himself as far as possible. Okay. Then one must put in himself as far as possible in contact with his psychic being and the divine presence in him. Present the problem to this psychic consciousness and ask for the true light, the true decision, the one most in accordance with the divine will, and try to listen and receive the inspiration. In each case, you see, it is the right attitude.
So the
The
last
mother.
line doesn't kind of go with this paragraph. It is a continuation of the whole passage, if that's confusing you, because that was the question, right? What is the right spirit? So just this paragraph till inspiration is the one that one
Oh,
must get in contact with the side.
yes, the first time I read it, when I was going through the part where it says one has to choose, sorry, then one must put himself as far as possible. I'm in my head, I missed that in contact part, and I thought, why should one must put as far as possible away from the psychic? But this is clear that it must be as much as possible in contact with the psychic being. So that explains it. Thank you.
Yeah, so although it feels we haven't done much yet, but maybe since an hour has passed, I don't know what we have time to take this. Maybe we should take it next week, seeking to know. So anything before we end, anything that I don't know that needs some reflection or any comments, any sharing experiences. Okay, so I will see if I can find more on the soul if it's needed. Otherwise, I think the first thing that we read, that the evolutionary aspect, the thing that helps me evolve and what is carried forward, is the psychic being which is present in the human consciousness. Yeah, so we'll end the session here and yeah, so thank you so much for joining in and just thanking Grace and its presence, this curiosity that I have, and the answers that are given to me so graciously and easily. Thank you.